Welcome back to the In the Pocket podcast. I'm Max Sturm, joined alongside Logan Martin and Xander Cook as always. Crazy week in the NFL by many different definitions, but for us specifically, I think a lot of us had a hard time picking these games, and the outcomes did not reflect what we've seen a lot this season and what we would expect. We're going to do a very, very quick recap of some of these games, and then we'll move on and we're going to do rankings as we enter week 14. We still have one week 13 game to be played at the time of recording this video, but let's get right into it. Lions and Packers started things off. I knew this was going to be a close game, but the Lions ultimately fell short. I thought they were going to win, but the Packers just played such a good game. Any thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I had the Lions winning that game, but an hour before game time, Logan and I were talking about it. There was just a gut feeling going around that the Packers are gonna win this game, and the reason being, Logan mentioned it a few episodes ago. Jared Goff gets happy feet going up against top-tier defensive lines. We saw it against Philadelphia, and Green Bay has a top five D line, especially led by Micah Parsons in there. So, with that Philly game in mind, I went an hour before kickoff. I was thinking to myself, fuck, he's going to be doing the same thing. He's going to get jittery in the pocket. He's going to be hit multiple times. He's going to be making those dumb decisions that he's not usually making. And we saw it in that Green Bay game. I mean, Micah Parsons, 2.5 sacks. The whole defensive line was feasting on the Lions' offensive line, and they made Jared Goff look uncomfortable. And again, it's Toyota-thon. We have to mention it. Fucking Jordan Love every time in Toyotathon. It is like clockwork, and that dude just takes it up a notch. I don't know why, but he looked elite, man.
Yeah, just go right off what he said. I brought it up. The happy feet, it's clear when you watch the tape. He gets the snap and the offensive line can't hold the pressure, and next thing you know, he's getting swallowed up on a 3rd and 10, and the ball doesn't come out of his hands. He just takes bad sacks, and he's a veteran, and he's not very mobile, so him not being able to get around in the pocket and escape the pocket and make plays with his feet hurts the fact that, when he's inside the pocket and the pass rush is getting to him, he can't really get out of it. So it's clear whenever he faces a D line, he struggles, regardless of the talent he has around him. Yeah, so they got to figure out. It feels like the Lions have an injury issue every single year around this time.
Yeah, they do. And the Lions fall to 7-5 in a division race that is led by the Chicago Bears right now. We'll get to them in a second. One update on the Lions. They thought they had Frank Ragnow coming back from retirement, and he failed his physical, so he will not be playing at all this year. That's a huge blow to them. They really could have used that help on the offensive line. Going forward, the next game, Chiefs Cowboys, and man, was this a fun game to watch. We see the explosion of George Pickens in this game again, but CeeDee Lamb still finished with more receiving yards. But I think George Pickens was the more impactful player in this game. When it came down to it, when the game was close, when they were trailing, George Pickens was the guy they went to. And that was extremely fun to watch. That hurdle was nuts.
Mm.
Um, and the Cowboys have looked like a more complete team recently. The defense is still not great, but it has gotten significantly better through the games and going up against the pinnacle of quarterbacks in the league in Patrick Mahomes. You limit them to under 30 points, which has not happened a lot in recent years. Chiefs fall to 6-6. And Logan, I hate to say it, but you're right about another thing in past weeks as well. Rashee Rice is a number one wide receiver, man. That guy has had crazy games since he's been back. He has been putting up good numbers for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's just a lack of a run game that really hurts them right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think I brought it up on the podcast before. Xavier Worthy's a great number two option, but he's undersized. You talk about guys like him, Khalil Shakur, guys who are smaller slot receivers that, yeah, they have blazing speed and they can create separation, but when they get rerouted by linebackers, by physical defensive backs, it throws them completely off the route and it just changes up the timing for a quarterback. So you need guys like Rashee Rice to be performing and being on his A game so Xavier Worthy can get more open because when all the attention's on Xavier Worthy as a deep threat because Rashee Rice isn't getting any targets and any yards, it takes away the ability for Xavier Worthy to really exploit a coverage and just find his way behind a coverage. So. Like you said, Rashee Rice is balling. It's good to see. They need him. Like you said, they need to find a run game. They need to find consistency in that.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest reason for that loss was solely it was not the offense. The offense played up to expectations. They put 28 points on Dallas. Mahomes looked lethal per usual. Rashee Rice was feasting in the passing game. The biggest outlier was the defense, and that's not something you see out of Kansas City, especially with Spagnuolo and defensive coordinator. You just limit Daniel Jones to a pretty poor game. You limit Jonathan Taylor to under 60 rushing yards. Now you're playing against Dallas offense that's similar to the Indianapolis offense. So as a fan, you're thinking, okay, if they can stop Indianapolis, you're thinking that they can stop Dallas. And no, that was absolutely not the case. And the whole secondary got torched all game. And I know Max said that George Pickens was the most impactful receiver on that Dallas team, but to me, it was still CD. Yeah, he had more catches and yards. That's not why he was more impactful. He was more impactful in that fourth quarter because he was able to draw those pass interference calls. There's two on the Dallas Cowboys' final drive, which absolutely killed any momentum that the Chiefs had, and those penalties are the reason why they lost that game.
Moving on to the next game, we'll talk a little bit about the Bengals and Ravens. We'll go through this real quick. Absolute disaster class from the Ravens once again. At least on the offensive side of the ball, we see Lamar Jackson turn the ball over 3 times. And to be completely honest with you, I don't think he's healthy enough to play. We know what this guy's capable of when he is healthy. I think that they saw their season falling apart and they rushed him back from injury, and it's shown. They have gotten up to this point 5 wins in a row, but it hasn't been because of him. They have prioritized that run game, and their defense has gotten significantly better over the last 6 weeks of the NFL. Uh, the Bengals come out with Joe Burrow back, and they're right back at the offense that we have been seeing from them for several years now. And Joe Burrow throws for 261, 2 touchdowns. It does his usual thing of avoiding turnovers. Um, and Jamar Chase gets 110 yards. It's the offense that we expect to see from them, and their defense in these last 2 games has been fantastic, which is really weird to say with how the last 2 years have gone.
Yeah, exactly. And just the Ravens offense, it looks like a shell of itself. You're not getting those explosive plays. You're not having Lamar scramble and get those yards on the ground with his feet. It's just lackadaisical, and it's been lackadaisical for the last month now, ever since Lamar came back, and it's really disappointing. And like Max said, maybe they rushed Lamar a little bit. Maybe he's still dealing with a hamstring. That's why he's not running as much. But once you watch the game, they killed themselves. They shot themselves in the foot. Isaiah Likely had an easy touchdown, fumbles at the goal line. You had a touchdown to Zay Flowers in the end zone, and then he gets called for an offensive pass interference. It's little shit like that that just completely flips the switch, and that's why Cincinnati was able to gain so much momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear that Cincinnati outplayed Baltimore. Those times you thought the Ravens could pull away, or times they can come back, and just simply didn't happen. Lamar doesn't look healthy. Derrick Henry, they refuse to give him the football. You look at these stat lines, and Derrick Henry's getting 5, 6, 7, 8 yards a carry, but he's only getting 10 carries. Why the hell isn't he getting the ball more? You're making Lamar throw 32 times on an injured hamstring, and you're not even going to use your running game. So I don't know in the NFL nowadays, you can't have a good passing offense if you don't have a run game to complement it. You've seen it backfire for the Chiefs this year. No running game, so teams just drop 8 in coverage and expect you to make something happen. It's not that easy. You have to set plays up. It's how that's why Josh McDaniels has found so much success with the Patriots because you see a run here, a run there, play action. Now you're in the gun. Like you just see so many different formations and so much is thrown at you. It's hard to take it in as a defense. It's not hard to play defense against the Baltimore Ravens because they're not going to give it to Derrick Henry as much as they should, and they have no weapons on the outside that are really that much of a threat. I mean, Isaiah Likely is a great tight end, but he's the number 2 tight end on that roster. So, like, and he's leading the team in receptions for this game. Cincinnati, they played great. Jamar Chase played great. Um, and Joe Burrow stepped up. At some point you thought this was going to be a boring football game, and the Bengals turned it up a notch in that second half. So congrats to Cincinnati getting that win. They were the better football team. They deserve that.
Yeah, and with the AFC North being still wide open, you gotta imagine that the Bengals might enter the conversation. If their defense keeps it up, they might enter the conversation of being able to take that top spot, depending on how these other two teams in the Steelers
Right.
and the Ravens play the rest of this year. And that defense has got to be as good as it has been the last few weeks. Going forward, we've got the Black Friday game. The Bears beat the Eagles 24-15, and it's just more of the same with the Eagles offense. It's so stale. They're not giving Saquon Barkley the ball the way that they need to, in my opinion. I mean, he had 13 carries for 56 yards, so still getting him 13 carries, but he has been limited, and I think the play calling was bad there too. Jalen Hurts didn't have a terrible game, but he only put up 15 points the entire game. And for an offense that we've seen be so explosive in years past, it's kind of disappointing this whole year to see what they've been made up of. They are now 8-4, which is still top of the NFC, the NFC East, but it just doesn't look like the same Eagles team to me. And I have said this before, and I will say it again. I don't know. Me and Xander had a conversation about this. I think that Nick Sirianni is a below average to average head coach who was carried by an elite offense and an all-time
Yes.
defense to two Super Bowls.
Not only that, but so I love what you just said because I was going to bring it up. If you're not a head coach that's an X's and O's guys, you better have the right freaking offensive and defensive coordinator. You better have the right coordinators for the job, and you also better have the right team for it. But in this case, they got the right team, and they got Kevin Patullo up at offensive coordinator, who I still don't know has a job. And if he still has his job, at some point he's going to get Nick Sirianni fired because Nick Sirianni's coaching decisions have been absolutely horrendous. Horrendous. I'm not even going to get into it right now because I could spend 10 minutes on it. I'm not going to get into it. Why do you go for two there? I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's like the third straight questionable call Nick Sirianni's had in weeks. He had one against Detroit. I forgot. He had one against Green Bay up three, and he chooses to throw a fade route instead of punting it and pinning it against the one and making Green Bay go 90 yards in 30, 40 seconds. Instead, he goes for goes for it on fourth and threes, throws a fucking fade route, doesn't complete it, and now Green Bay has a chance to get three and tie the game. Like it doesn't, you're throwing the game away, dude. And to keep it with the Bears and Eagles, the Eagles got blown off the line, and Ben Johnson proved to the NFL that coaching matters. Proved to the NFL that he is the best offensive coach in the NFL, and proved that he was the best hire um, in the offseason. And he's probably the best thing that's ever happened to the Bears in the last few years. So
Absolutely.
like, dude, this guy stuck to the run game. You have a guy in Caleb Williams who we've seen bad, but we've also seen Patrick Mahomes like material from this guy. And for him to stick to the running game with a seventh round rookie and a guy who's coming off injuries in DeAndre Swift and just pound the rock like he does, not only shows that he's one of the toughest football coaches in the NFL, he has the ultimate trust in his offensive line and his running back, and he also trusts Caleb Williams to hand the ball off. And then when he's getting put in positions where Caleb Williams can make a play, he can make a play. And that's why they're nine and freaking, what are they, 9-3 right now? Now,
Yeah.
like, who would have thought the Chicago Bears would have this record after how they started and after what happened last year? So props to Ben Johnson. Screw Nick Sirianni. Screw Kevin Patullo. The fact that Jalen Hurts has 20 freaking passing yards going into halftime every single freaking game doesn't make any sense. And then when they have to throw it to AJ Brown, it freaking works. Like, why don't you do it in the first quarter? I watched Jalen Hurts just complete it 4 times in a row to AJ Brown when they need to go get a touchdown, and you don't see that ever. So I'm done with the Eagles. They're still a top team roster wise. They were embarrassed at home. They didn't deserve that to win that game, and the coaches need to go home, look at themselves in the mirror, and drop their sack a little bit and get ready for the next week because this shit's getting embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't like saying this, but I think I have to say it. I think their season is over. I think the Eagles' season is over, and it's hard to say that when you have an 8-4 team coming off of a Super Bowl, but they are not scary. There is a formula on how to beat the Eagles. There's a formula on how to stop their offense. There's a formula to gash their defense. Teams have exposed that. There's a lack of culture shock in that locker room. No one's connecting in the locker room. It's over. It's over. And I hate saying that because they're still a really deep team. They have a deep roster, but nothing's clicking right now, and I absolutely think that they're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs because what have they proven to us this season? Nothing. Going on to the Bears side. Like Logan already nailed it on the head. That is by far the best hire of the offseason, probably the best hire in the last few years. I think that Ben Johnson completely revitalized that Chicago organization. I think drafting Caleb Williams revitalized that organization. Still think that he can be that stud quarterback for that franchise moving forward because we've seen the potential, we've seen the flashes, and now he has the coaching staff to do it. He has the weapons to do it. So this organization is all in on Johnson, all in on Caleb Williams, and we're going to see a lot of great things moving forward. And Logan mentioned that he's a guy that has the ultimate trust in his players. Not only that, but he just has so much excitement when it comes to the game of football. He is brilliant, brilliant as an offensive minded head coach. He knows how to expose opponent defenses. And you see him in the locker room, post game celebrations. That dude is in his players' ears, hyping them up. He has an awesome post game speech. He has an awesome post game celebration, like a who rides sort of thing. That is a guy you want to fucking play for. And that organization, they're proving it every single Sunday that they want to play for Ben Johnson, and he will do anything for his players. I love it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I I guess I third that statement of he's the best hire in years around the NFL. You don't see new head coaches have this success, with the exception of course, Mike Vrabel this year with the Patriots. But for who would have thought, especially after those first two games, that the Bears would be 9-3 leading the North right now? Xander,
Mm.
I know you and I have talked about it. You felt very confident that they would be a better team last year when we were having that debate, and I wasn't quite sure how it would turn out because I didn't have the faith in Caleb Williams, and I still think there's still a lot of room to improve for him, and that's normal. He's in his second year, but his jump from year one to year two is noticeable. The offensive line still isn't fantastic, but it's better than last year. He's not being sacked the way he was last year, and he still looks a little bit uncomfortable when he has to extend a play. But I do think that he's learning those things and continuing to upgrade that offensive line, continuing to build this playbook around his strengths is something that Ben Johnson is more than capable of doing, and he's probably the best guy to have doing that for a guy who's in his second year, going to be in his third year next year. I would not be surprised next year to say that the Chicago Bears are a top 7 or 8 team in the league, maybe even top five.
If they can make improvements on their defense, because I'm kind of getting flashes of the Dallas Cowboys with this team.
Yes.
Really good offense, a struggling defense who's going to have a really good regular season record because they make the right plays. But when it comes down to crunch time and you know, you're coming against a defense who's coming at your throat in the playoffs, I think it's going to change a little bit. But it's Ben Johnson. We've been talking about Ben Johnson. I think he's the best offensive coach in the NFL. So when you have a guy like that calling plays, who knows what's going to happen in a game?
Yeah, and you're right about the defense, but the difference between their defense and let's say the Cowboys defense or Cincinnati's up till these last few weeks, the Chicago defense will make the plays when needed for them to win games, and that's why they've only lost 3.
Yeah.
Obviously, the offense has been great, or much better than last year, but the defense, while it's not very good, they also make timely stops. They adjust well at this in the second half of games in order to get the stop where they can tie a game or go ahead or extend
It,
their lead.
and one thing that I love about Chicago, and one thing that I think great NFL teams need to do well to succeed, it's an underestimated stat. Offensive third down percentage, your conversion rates on third down. The Bears were 10 for 17 on third down against the Eagles. Just moving the chains. First down, second down, third down. Who cares? We got a first down play right here. Boom, move the chains. And they did that 10 times. And they're sixth in the league right now. So to be able to do that against a team like the Eagles, big bad Eagles, bully, 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 big front line, like good linebackers, great secondary, they made them their little brother in
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
dude. So I want to show you guys a clip real quick. This is, I'm a Steelers fan, and you have no idea how badly I wanted to fire Tomlin in the offseason and hire Ben Johnson. I've been on the Ben Johnson train for since he was promoted to OC at Detroit because it was evident how great this guy is. Now he's a head coach for the Bears. I'm gonna show you this clip.
I mean, what other coach in the league is doing that?
I
You think
would
Tomlin's taking his
run
shirt off?
if I was in that locker room, bro, I would run through a brick fucking wall for that man. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely tale of two stories for both those teams. The Chicago Bears obviously thriving right now. Eagles, while posting an 8-4 record, are very disappointing and at times embarrassing to watch. Moving into our 1 o'clock slate, the Dolphins get it done against the Saints. The Texans make they're making a run for that tops position in the AFC South right now. Their defense obviously fantastic. They limit the Colts to 16 points. The Jaguars are at the top of that division right now with a win over Tennessee, which I think that was a game that we did all expect Jacksonville to win. I didn't expect them to be on top of the North or the South rather after this game or after this week. The Texans just continue to dominate on defense, and it keeps them in these games. And now, from a team that was very disappointing at the beginning of this year, and I had as my most disappointing team, they're 7-5 now.
Yeah. And I think, look, all credit to their defense. Defense has been A1 since day one all year. And now you have Stroud coming back. The offense still didn't really like impress me a whole too much. They haven't impressed me with Davis Mills. They haven't impressed me with CJ Stroud all year. So that's going to be probably a downfall going moving along towards the end of the season, especially come or this month in December, next month in January. The question I have now is flipping it to the Indianapolis Colts. Daniel Jones has a fractured fibia, and he's playing through a fractured fibia. Are we going to see the Colts fall off towards the end of the season? They went from what 8-2 and now they're 8-4. And that offense just wasn't clicking at all. They didn't click against Kansas City, and they haven't clicked against Houston. Jonathan Taylor isn't getting the rushing yards we're expecting, and Daniel Jones, with that fractured fibia, he can't make those plays out of the pocket. He can't use his legs to extend the play.
Well, and look at the schedule coming up for the Colts too. They take on those first place Jaguars in Jacksonville next week. Then they play Seattle, another stout defense. Then they take on the 49ers, who against all odds have still been winning games. Then they face the Jaguars again and then close out with the Texans in week 18. That's not an easy schedule for this team. So are they going to continue to fall off, or are they going to up their game, get back to their weeks 1 through 9? I'm
No,
not
I think
sure.
that no, I think the Colts are gonna face some regression with Sauce Gardner. We don't know his status with the calf injury. It looks like his results came
Several
back
weeks.
positive couple weeks. I mean, you know, when you're in a situation like the Colts are in now, where you have your starting quarterback now with a little bit of an injury issue, that's nothing you want your starting quarterback to go through because come playoff time, like we use the word sustainable a lot. That's not sustainable at all. So a couple fractures in your leg as a dual threat quarterback. Not to mention all the gravity coming down as a 6'5" guy. Not to get into all the science behind it, but it's a lot of mass on those legs. So pause. But yeah, no. Houston Texans impressing me every week. I'm upset I didn't pick them to win. You know what I said on the video? If CJ Stroud plays in this game, I have the Houston Texans playing, and my dumbass didn't realize that CJ Stroud was playing as I questioned if he was playing or not. So I should have just picked the Texans straight up. But yeah, I mean this team's gonna make a run. You know, they started off slow and they've been hot.
All right, we'll go ahead and continue forward. The Jets beat the Falcons 27-24. Um, Tyrod Taylor, love to see him get out there and get those wins. The 49ers, they put 26 up on the Browns, who had Shador Sanders playing again, and Shador was not fantastic in this game. He didn't throw any interceptions, but he only threw for 149, 16 of 25, and the one touchdown. That was a nice touchdown, but their offense just isn't consistent enough, no matter who's playing quarterback. They don't have the reliable pass catchers in order to to win these games. Like when Harold Fannin Jr. is your number one receiver in the game, I mean, you're not gonna win.
every week.
Yeah,
No shit.
he had 43 yards and that score. Jerry Jeudy, a guy who a few years ago you're talking about potentially being a top 20 wide receiver in the league, and now he's just almost non-existent for them.
Can we talk about him getting up in Shador's face? Did you see that video of him up in Shador's face complaining about something on the tape and Shador basically like stood up for himself? Like, bro, like shut your
Good.
mouth.
Jerry Jeudy has nothing to be complaining about.
Right.
His own game.
Right.
His own game is the
Fumbles,
only thing
drops.
he should be focused on. And he's been on a bad team for several years now, so I understand some
Frustrating.
frustration. But you can't take it out on a rookie quarterback who's in his second start and honestly was not the reason that you lost that game.
No. No, the 49ers outplayed him.
Yeah.
But also that was the trap line in terms of, people thinking that you should just take Cleveland because of how they played at home, their defense, the weather, but the weather cleared up come game time. That didn't seem to be as much of a factor. Um, but
Miles
yeah,
Garrett gets another sack. He is what, two and a
Team.
half, three away. He's 3 sacks away, 3.5 sacks
you
away.
hold Christian McCaffrey to 20 carries and 53 yards. You think you have a chance to win that game, but no, just no offensive production.
No.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Garrett is 3.5 sacks away from breaking the all-time record, and he's
Tying,
got what's that?
tying the record, three and a
Oh yeah,
half.
yeah, yeah, tying. So 4 away from breaking the record. And honestly, with their schedule coming up,
He's
I could
in
see
two
that.
weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, let's see, their next game is versus the Titans. He might break it in the Titans game. He might break it in the
Dude, he
Titans.
already had four. He already had 2 games with 4 sacks. Like, come on.
Yeah, and that offensive line is horrid for the Titans. And then they play the Bears after that, which depends what offensive line you get and how Caleb Williams deals with the pressure. Then you play Buffalo, and I think at least one of their offensive tackles will be back, but it's still Miles Garrett. And then you face the Steelers, who we saw yesterday. Their offensive line did not hold up very well. And then finally they play the Bengals, which you know what they're made of. So if he fails to get 4 sacks between now and that January 4th game, I would be shocked.
Right?
I think he could break it in this next game, and if he doesn't, he's getting on at least one on Caleb Williams, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's continue forth. Um, the shocker of the week is the Panthers coming in and beating or the Rams going into Carolina and Carolina defending their dirt and winning that game 31-28. Man, it was like a movie the way I watched that game. They were talking about uh, how great Matthew Stafford is, and he has played fantastic. He had the touchdown to Devontae Adams. Uh, and then they're saying, oh, he broke the record, Tom Brady's record for most touchdown passes without an interception at 28. And what happens their very next drive? He throws a pick in the end zone. And then right after that, his next drive, he throws a pick six to Mike Jackson. I mean, it couldn't have been more storybook cinema comedy like than how that played out. But regardless, this was a shootout throughout the game. Um, and the Panthers just found a way to terrorize that offense. And then were able to do well on the defense or on their offensive side of the ball too. I mean, Bryce Young, for all we've talked about him, has had a great few stretches of games, and here he throws 206 and 3 touchdowns. I don't know what more you can ask for against the what I consider to be the one of the best teams in the league in the LA Rams. And you get that win, and now you are on the cusp of being the NFC South first place leader. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you really never know which version of Carolina you're going to get. One week they get blown out. Another week they only scored 9 points. I read some stat that they have lost by 20 plus points 4 times this season, scored less than 13 or 15 points a few times. And then you go out, you shut out Atlanta 30-0. You beat Dallas. You score over 30 points against Dallas. You only scored 9 points against San Fran. And then the very next week, you beat the Rams and scored 31 points. They just beat the number one seed in the NFC. And it's not the first time they've done it either. They went into Green Bay at the time the Packers were the number one seed in the NFC and beat them in their own territory. What the hell is this team, man? They are consistently inconsistent, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm here for it because I enjoy watching them. I enjoy watching them stink it up because it's hilarious. But more than that, I enjoy watching them thrive because it is so much fun watching them just consistently make these plays on offense, consistently make these plays on defense. Do we say they're a good team? Maybe. Maybe they are. And
You got to
Bryce
compare them to last year's Panthers and say, yes, they are a much, much improved team.
and then Bryce Young, man, like everyone talks shit about him. We've talked shit about him, but he has those stretches of games where he'll throw 400 yards and a few touchdowns. He'll throw 206 yards and three touchdowns against the best defense in the NFC. So there's still a lot of hope for this kid, and he's 6 feet tall, so didn't have the height advantage coming into the NFL. A lot of people were questioning that, but Drew Brees was 6 feet. Not gonna say he's Drew Brees, but I don't think height matters. Russell Wilson, 5'11". He's had success in the NFL. I think if Bryce Young can be consistent on this team and they give him the weapons to utilize in the passing game, they surround him with a pretty good offensive line. I think this kid can make some noise in the season.
Absolutely. Logan, any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I just thought the Rams did what they were able to do. I thought the play calling on offense was great. The defense was underwhelming. You look at the interior of that defensive line, Puna Ford, and he's what 5'11", short, stocky, like a little tree stump, broad shoulder. Like that's not a guy that's really gonna stuff the run game. You look at systems that like Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn, what he's trying to implement in New York with the Jets. Bigger guys up front like the Tennessee Titans. That's the guy. That's the kind of scheme you need to stop the run. So I think the Panthers really abuse that because the Panthers have an underrated O line. I've been saying that since the preseason, and they have a really good running game. They have two really good running backs that are in controversy right now because they're both playing pretty good right now. I know Rico Dowdle played great. He had a couple off games, and now Chuba Hubbard comes back and he looks like he's playing really healthy. And now it's like, who do you play? Well, you play both. You just keep running the football, especially against a team like this where they're going to get to you in the pass rush and they're going to cover you up in the back end. So what do? You run the ball, and that's what the Panthers did. Kudos to the team coming in and having that as a game plan because it worked out. And I don't think you really think much of the Rams in this loss other than the defense because the offense did what they wanted.
Yeah. We'll skim through a few games here. The Jaguars walk into Nissan Stadium and embarrass the Titans. They only put up 3 points. The Cardinals walk in and like they do almost every single week, like they do almost every single week, the Cardinals keep it a close game with the Buccaneers. But the Buccaneers get the 3 point win with Baker Mayfield still dealing with that left shoulder injury. Was awesome to see him even back playing this week. And Chris Godwin was back too, and he made some plays. And so you like to see that. Bucky Irving was back. He scored a touchdown. So they're slowly getting healthier. Baker probably will need a few weeks here to be back to full strength, but they get the win regardless, which is much needed after losing three straight. And then you look at the Seahawks, they get the 26-0 win over the Vikings, and the Vikings had Max Brosmer playing, and just a very bad game from him. I think that one pick six that he lobbed it up, very similar to that Will Levis play. I think that kind of was the summary of the game for the Vikings in that. Um, and then we get to our games, Andrew, the Bills and the Steelers. That I had the pleasure of watching that game with you and your dad yesterday. That was, for me, a very fun game. The first half of that game was very sloppy from both teams. It went to halftime 7-3 Pittsburgh, and Allen turned the ball over once, James Cook turned the ball over once, and it looked like more of the same from Buffalo. But one thing that hasn't been consistent in games that the Bills have started off very slow is that they haven't really been able to adjust well in the second half. They adjusted very well in the second half. They knew what was working. That run game was fantastic in that first half. They just hadn't been able to score. So what do? They just hammer the run game with James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, even Josh Allen. It did not matter. They were gaining around 6 yards per carry total. And I think James Cook was averaging almost, yeah, he averaged five alone, and he had 144 yards in this game. I think that Josh Allen played a relatively clean game other than the or after the interception. He only threw for 123 and a touchdown, but he didn't have to throw the ball all that much. The run game was what was successful. The Bills defense finally made some plays with Joey Bosa getting the strip sack, Christian Benford picking it up, and then on the next drive, Benford got the interception. I think Xander, you're going to talk a little bit about this again, but the scheming for both the offense and the defense from Mike Tomlin is just terrible.
And that's putting it lightly, dude. That's putting it lightly. Look, never in my life have I heard the Pittsburgh home crowd chant firing a head coach. Never. And I've been on the fire Tomlin train for the last shit, 5, 6, 7 years. I think he is the most overrated coach in not only football, but I think in the United States. I think he's the most overrated coach. I will not shy away from that. What I didn't think was the rest of the Pittsburgh fandom jumping on board the train. And all of a sudden, in that second half, you hear a, a lot of the fans in that stadium chant, "Fire Tomlin." Now Tomlin's hearing that, and he's a pretty egotistical guy. He hears that and he's going, "Fuck you guys," pretty much. This is also the first time in my entire life, fourth quarter rolls around, you already know if it's a close game, the Steelers will play Renegade, their hype song. It gets the crowd going, they start waving the terrible towels, they get amped. When they played Renegade against the Bills, the entire stadium booed. They booed the hype song. That's the first time in my entire life I ever heard our own crowd boo the hype song. And this is because us Steelers fans are sick. We are sick. The Steelers philosophy is not the Steelers philosophy that we grew up with. And it hasn't been that way for the last 10, 15 years. Tomlin is his schemes are completely outdated. Sure, they worked in 2007, they worked in 2008, they worked in 2010, but this is 2025. Your schemes ended 10 years ago, brother. You should, if you're a good coach, you adjust to the NFL every year. He has not yet adjusted to it. He gets to that winning record and he calls it good. He doesn't make any halftime adjustments. You mentioned Max. Oh, the Bills aren't a second half adjustment team. I knew as soon as we had that 7-3 lead, even though we were up by 4 points, we're not going to change a damn thing. Why would we? We're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're not going to change a single thing. In fact, at halftime, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go, all right, guys, we're up four. Keep doing what you're doing. And hey, create some turnovers. We'll win this game. Okay, well, how are you going to stop the Bills' run? Where's the coaching in that, Tom? Where is it? Huh? Nope. Leading up to this game, Mike Tomlin's game plan: stop the Bills' run game and then win the trenches on offense. We're gonna pound the football. Bills rush for 250 yards, the most in Heinz Field history. You know how many rushing yards we had? 58. 58 rushing yards. But Tomlin's game plan was stop the Bills' run game, and it was win the run game offensively. We didn't do either. This dude's a freaking joke. I don't know what the hell he's doing in practice, but it never, ever, ever works. It's time for a change. I've been screaming it all year. I screamed it all year last season, the season before, the season before. This dude doesn't have a fucking playoff win in 10 years. This is a rhetorical thing, okay? I don't want you guys to answer this. Name a coach, any coach, that would be with an organization for 10 years without a playoff win. You can't.
There
So,
wouldn't be one. I
yeah,
mean,
It,
I think that the Rooneys, um, and we had this conversation yesterday. I think ownership just isn't what it used to be. Obviously, Art Senior was a diehard football fan and was in it for the game. And I think not only with the Steelers, but with a lot of NFL teams now, ownership is a business rather than a love.
Mhm.
And um, I think that you see that taking place right here in Pittsburgh with the Steelers, where Art Rooney's kids, yeah, sure, it's a prized possession. It's something their dad worked so hard to build up, but they haven't done anything with it. They keep Tomlin around despite having no success. I don't think winning 9 games every season and going and losing in the first or second round of the playoffs is success at all. It's
Mhm.
not. And so the fact that he's still there, the fact that other changes haven't been made, it's sad. And then another thing that has been plaguing the Pittsburgh Steelers is the lack of um, interest in drafting a quarterback. Obviously, they drafted Will Howard, but when are you going to play him? I know you signed Rodgers, but he's on a 1 year cheap-ish deal. You gotta give the guy a chance at some point. And you guys are 6-6. You want to stick to your guns, but you throw at the end of that game. Why not give him a chance when you're already down? Already took Rodgers out. You saw Mason Rudolph already throw an interception in that game. Why do you not give Will Howard a chance to see what you have? I don't get that at all.
Especially, why would you make him inactive for that game? You know that Rodgers is dealing with a wrist injury, and sure enough, first play of the second half, he goes down, fumbles the football. Bills scoop and score. Rodgers gets injured. Now we have to throw in Mason Rudolph. What happens if Rudolph gets injured? You already inactivated Will Howard. Now we have to say Rudolph gets injured. You have to rely on your one of your running backs to play quarterback. It's just a dumb coaching move yet again. Oh my God. And not only that, we ran a draw on a 3rd and 9 play. All right. We get 7 yards out of it. Now it's 4th and 2. We don't go for it. We punt it. What the fuck was that about,
Not
dude?
only that, but how about when you guys, it's a two-score game, you guys are inside the red zone and it's fourth down and you guys go for it, but your play is handed off when
Not only that, Spencer Anderson, our lineman, was lined up as a tight end, dude. Our tight end, Jonnu Smith, shorter than Spencer Anderson, weighs less than Spencer Anderson, has to block Greg Rousseau. What is that play call? Why? Oh my God, dude. And we don't target the middle of the field offensively. We had one pass go over the middle of the field. We had maybe two, three carries up the gut. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work, okay? Defensively, why are our linebackers moving up? Why aren't they staying in their position to cover the middle of the fucking field? Every week, the linebackers get out of position and the middle of the field is left wide fucking open for fucking James Cook to expose, for Josh Allen to expose, for Caleb Williams to expose, for Burrow, Flacco, anyone we played this year to expose. Where's the coaching, Mike? Where's the
yeah,
coaching?
I'll stop you before I've got a call to have you sent to a mental facility because I can tell that this is just so infuriating for you. And Logan's over there gaming right now. So we'll continue forward here. Last thing I'll add about it, Allen scored his 76th career rushing touchdown in that game, which is the NFL record, all-time record for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback passing Cam Newton. And he's done that in 8 years. So just goes to show how effective he has been on his feet. Um, let's see. Any other games worth mentioning?
Patriots up 10-0. Let's go, baby.
Okay, Patriots are up
They
10-0.
scored a punter, Marcus Jones punt and turn touchdown. To the house.
Um, I mean, the Chargers beat the Raiders. We expect that. Last night's game between the Broncos and Commanders was a fun watch, especially later in that game. You've got the Commanders are down and Marcus Mariota's in, and it's a guy that we haven't seen make plays since maybe 2015, 2016 with the Titans. And this guy goes out and puts together such a beautiful and methodical drive against the Broncos to kicked that game tying field goal. And it wasn't without its controversy either. And this is something that I almost made a video about today for my socials because I was so upset about it watching it. I mean, I don't know if either of you guys watched that game all the way through, but on that final drive, you had Terry McLaurin get called for a false start when he was clearly not. He
Mhm.
clearly did not false start. He moved in motion, got to the far side of the field, and set himself, and then they snapped the ball. That was not a false start. Then you go into the next play, and it's intentional grounding. Intentional grounding is only intentional grounding if the ball is away from everybody, you're in the tackle box, and the guy's not outside the numbers. The guy he was looking to was outside the numbers, and the ball wasn't terribly far away. It looked like he might have slipped and fell. Um, so NFL officiating continues to just amaze me how you can be so bad and how these guys continue to call games. You, as a professional referee, need to know the game in and out, and you call two bad calls in a row that weren't even close, in my opinion, and you force Washington to deal with third and 25 after those two penalties. It's ridiculous. And they still converted and still got down into the red zone and kicked that field goal with Jake Moody, who's on his third team of the season. And then you go to overtime. The referees couldn't even explain how kicking off or didn't understand when Washington said we want to kick off first. They didn't understand what he was trying to say. It was laughable. And then uh, overtime plays out. The Broncos score in like 3 plays, and then the Commanders go down. A few more penalties here and there, and finally they get into the end zone with Terry McLaurin. Uh, and they opt for two because honestly, with 3 minutes left in the game, I don't want to tie it. You want to win the game. So it makes sense to go for two. And on that 2 point conversion, one of the best players on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL in Nick Bonito makes a beautiful play, blocks the pass, jumps so high up in the air to block that pass to what would have been a wide open receiver or a running back on a screen for the 2 point conversion and the win. And so the Broncos narrowly escape. We've seen them play down to their opponents, but they still find a way to come out with a win in this one. They win by 1 point, and now they sit at 10-2. And I think the AFC West is locked up at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just an all-around exciting win or exciting game. I don't want to say exciting win because I was talking with a buddy of mine beforehand. He's a Broncos fan, and him and I both agreed if the Broncos win convincingly, I'd put them in that Super Bowl tier. But if this is a close game against a horrible Washington defense, against a Washington offense that's aging up against one of the best defenses in the league, if it's a close game, I don't think you can put them in that Super Bowl team. A 27-26 game went into overtime. You almost lost the game, had to have Nick Bonito clutch up. I'm it's a great win for Denver. All right. They stay ahead in the AFC West, but it's a concerning win. In my opinion, that is a concerning win. And I say that because this is realistically a team they should have blown out. Had the chance to put up a 34 burger against a terrible defense, and they didn't. I have concerns with the offense heading into the playoffs, and honestly, the defense should not be playing like that against Washington. They shouldn't have Marcus Mariota having a methodical drive to tie the game. They shouldn't have Marcus Mariota having another methodical drive in overtime to score a touchdown and then almost win the game for them. That should not be happening. Oh gosh.
Thanks, Logan. Logan, any thoughts on last night's game, or did you not watch it?
No, I watch it. Another game where I was foolish to pick the Broncos because they can't cover that kind of spread. Um, and it was a perfect situation for the Commanders. They're coming off a bye week, extra time to get ready, extra time to prepare for a very good Broncos team. So a team like that in the Broncos, they have a target on their back. So perfect scenario for the Commanders at home to make it competitive, and they did that. I thought Bo Nix played his ass off, though. I thought he was great. I just thought Denver shied away from the running game a little too much. I think
Yep.
RJ Harvey's a really good option. I just don't. I think they need to hand the ball off to him more.
Yep. And then the Giants and Patriots are playing. Is it still 10-0?
Yeah, Jackson Dart just got smacked running out of bounds for a first down, like went airborne, and a huge fight just broke out.
Oh wow.
All right, let's
Um,
do some top five.
I'll kick it off right now. Call me crazy or biased, I don't care. I'm putting Buffalo at number 5 right now. I think that they're still a team that you've got to look out for every game. They're never out of any game. And their offense, if they can continue the run game, if Josh Allen can avoid turnovers, you're gonna see them you're gonna see them flourish. And quietly, if the Giants somehow find a way to come back and win this game today, then Buffalo beats Cincinnati next week. That next game versus the Patriots will be for the division lead.
Mhm.
So it will be interesting to see how that one plays out. Anyway, so number 5 is Buffalo. Number 4, I've got the Rams. Bad loss yesterday. It was a bad loss, but they still are a top team. I think that was a fluke game for them, not what you normally would see out of them. Number 3, I have Seattle. They have the same record. They're the leaders in that division now. I just think that their offense, while it wasn't great yesterday, they still displayed a good enough performance to win. Their defense looks great. I have them at number 3. Number 2 is Denver. They're 10-2. Their defense is incredible, and their offense makes the plays when they need to. And Bo Nix did look good yesterday. And then lastly, number 1. I hate it. I hate it so much, but the Patriots are number 1 right now. They are the leaders in the AFC, and they're the leaders in the NFL right now. They have thrived under Mike Vrabel. They've thrived under Drake May, and their defense is playing well. Their running backs are playing well with a average to slightly above average wide receiver core. They're playing well, and Marcus Jones is a fucking dog. He is. I can't get over it, man. That guy is one of. It's like Matt Slater left, and now he's back and he can play corner.
Mhm.
It's sick. All right, who do you guys have?
Yeah,
Number
five.
three.
At five, I got the Packers. They're coming off of back-to-back convincing wins. Jordan Love is starting to ball out. He's playing like his December, January self. That defense is tremendous, and I think they're a half game back in that division. And honestly, if you put the Bears and Packers in a matchup today, which is actually happening this week, I think the Packers win. Um, so they're at my number five spot. Four, I'm going with the Rams, like Max said. Just a bad loss, but it's not something you're going to see out of them every week. Just a fluke game. Three, I have the Broncos 10-2 record. They got the win against Washington. There's still some questions surrounding that team, but again, they're still a top five team. Not in a Super Bowl tier for me, even though I have them at that number three spot, but again, it's power rankings. You got to go off of record and how teams are playing right now. So they're at number three for me. Number two, I got Seattle. That was just an outstanding win yesterday, shutting out Minnesota. Granted, I think some of the better defense or some of the best defenses in the league could have shut out Minnesota, giving they're playing their third string quarterback who's never touched the field. So, but giving credit where it's due, that Seattle defense is tremendous. The offense can light you up whenever. So they're at that number two spot for me. And then number one, again, it's got to be New England. They have that 10-2 record right now. Could be 11-2 after tonight's game. And I mean, the offense is clicking, the defense is clicking, the special teams is clicking, the coaching is incredible. So you got to give them that number one spot.
Yeah, I like both of your lists. At five, I got the Packers. I really like the defense at home. They're great. Offense, Jordan Love's look shaky at times, but he's one of those quarterbacks where they can dominate. He can throw for 139 yards. And if Josh Jacobs is healthy, the running game's great. Emmanuel Wilson stepped up. He's done good in his absence at times. I think the Packers are a really good tackling team. I think Isaiah McDuffie's the most underrated linebacker in the NFL, might be the most underrated defensive player in the NFL. He's great on the Packers. I like that defense. So give me the Packers at five. And it was a toss up between the Packers, the Eagles, and the 49ers for that 5 spot. But I give it to the Packers. At 4, I got the Bills. You just can't go against Josh Allen when it matters most. I really love the offensive line. I really love James Cook, and if they can just stick to the run game, they're going to be fine. It'll be interesting to see who makes it between them and the Patriots because I think that'll be a really good matchup if they face each other again, which they will. Um, 3, give me the Seattle Seahawks. Love the offense, love the defense. The offensive line has really stepped up this year, as which was a question mark going into the year. I just love the defensive scheme, and Kubiak's done a great job with the offense. Just what's preventing me from putting Seattle at 1 is just Sam Darnold's playing the biggest games and the biggest moments. If we can see Sam Darnold step up in a big game, which I'd have to look at the schedule, see who they're about to play. If I can see him go for like 250, a couple touchdowns, and not turn the ball over against a team like the Rams, the Broncos, the Eagles, the Packers, teams like that. If I can see that from Sam Darnold, they're a number 1 team, but I haven't seen that yet. So give me the Seahawks at 3, Rams at 2. I think they did everything right in that game. The defense was shaky. I think it exposed what can happen to them in the run game. But Matt Stafford is still a dog. It shows what turnovers can do in the game. He had 3 of them. Unfortunate after going 21 straight without a turnover, breaks a streak, and has 3 straight turnovers. Unfortunate, but the Rams averaged 7 yards per play in that game. So I have no questions about this offense for the Rams. Giving them at 2 and then 1, giving the New England Patriots. They're just elite on all phases of the football. I can't believe the Patriots are number 1 in my power rankings 13 weeks into the NFL season, but I'm proud of them. Love how they're playing. They're really fun to watch this year, and that's what I'm about to do after this. So that's my
All
five.
right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching the In the Pocket podcast. We've got our picks video coming later this week. Still to be determined if I will be there for that one. And then next week, we've got a surprise for you guys, which is going to be awesome. We can't wait to share that with you guys. But for right now, that's the In the Pocket podcast. Anybody else have any closing thoughts? Nope. Gonna head out of here. Enjoy week 14 of the NFL, and make sure you lock in your picks and argue with us in the comments if you have any varying opinions or whatever. But yep, that's the end of this episode, and we'll see you on Thursday.